When did when did that separate from just being the band member or playing into creating the mouse quake of who you are? Because I know there was a part in your life where you went into the Marines.
Actually, I went to the Air Force. Don't disrespect the blue like that.
Oh, my bad, my bad, my bad, my bad, my bad, my bad. You went to
Yeah,
the Air
I
Force.
I graduated from college on a Friday. I went back home and I was home about 3 days. And I said, man, I can't deal with this. So I went to the they had a recruiting station. I rode a 10-speed bike to a recruiting station. I walked in and said, whoever can get me out of here today, that's where I'm going. The Marines couldn't get me out. The Navy couldn't get me out, and the Army couldn't get me out. The Air Force guy said, "Hey, man, if you have already passed the ASVAB, you can go today at 6 o'clock." I mean, I already had a 98 from college on the ASVAB. I was on the bus to Atlanta, and I was in San Antonio the next morning at 2 o'clock boot camp.
Wow. And what motivated you to take that route?
Well, I didn't want. I knew if I stayed in the hood, I was going to either be a dope dealer, in jail, or dead. One of them three, and none of them sound good to me. So,
Yeah.
I went in the military, and I enjoyed myself. I stayed 21 years.
21 years in the
Yeah,
military. So
yeah,
let me ask you a question. I know the Philippines, you've mentioned, had been a big effect on you seeing the world going into the service. How has that affected to who you are and what you do now?
yeah. When I graduated, you go to boot camp in the
Okay.
Air Force, then you go to technical school to learn your skill set, and they were handing out, first base assignments, and everybody was getting, stuff in the states, California, Texas, New York. And one of the old heads said, "Well, somebody in here got the best assignment out of everybody." And I'm like, "Who is that?" He said, "You going to the Philippines?" Okay, number one, I didn't even know what the Philippines was. It didn't exist. so, so I looked it up, and I was like, "Damn, it's on the other side of the world." But I was like, so I was gonna say I don't want to go, because you have a right of first refusal one time, and then you can get something else. The old head pulled me to the side, said, "Man, get on that plane and go over there. It's gonna be the best thing ever happened to you." And he did not lie. He did not lie. I got to go live there, and on the weekends I would fly to Korea and Japan on my days off and buy musical equipment, the stuff that I would pay 3 times as much here than I did over there, and I could get it when nobody else would have it in the states.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I used to spend, since I don't drink or smoke, I always had a little paper in my pocket. Plus, being from the hood, you don't like to spend money because you don't know when it's coming back.
Yep.
So I would just go and spend like a whole paycheck on musical equipment, or then I spend a whole paycheck on clothes and shoes. So, you're living in the dorm. You don't have to pay no rent. You got free lights and food. They give you clothes if you just gonna wear your uniform. I ain't have a reason not to have what I wanted. So I would never come back to the States. I think I came home twice in 6 or 7 years the first time. Then the next time I didn't come home for another 5.
Wow. So while you was out there for the 21 years, you was honing your skill set continuously in the music.
Yes, I was going to school, learning the essence of how to arrange and produce records properly, learn about frequency and sound, and all that good stuff. And on the cool part was it was free, really, because I could go to school in the Air Force to take classes for free. Like I used to take piano lessons for 50 cents a lesson in 1985.
50
Yeah,
Cent.
50 cents a lesson. I would take 2 lessons a week. So
What? I would.
yeah, man.
Oh, most definitely. I would be over here like.
Oh
I'll
yeah.
be
Oh,
getting it on.
oh yeah, man.
So okay. So you building your equipment. You're honing your skills, and you're getting to that 21 mark, and you came straight back home.
Well, no, I came back home for the first time in 1988.
Okay.
and I was stationed at Oakland International Airport, which is Oakland, California,
Yeah.
as a special duty assignment. It was like 27 or so, whatever. And I met a cat named Lamont Attaway. His name was Paradise. He worked on the curbside doing the bags, and he was a rapper, and he was well connected. We chopped it up one day, said, hey man, let me just come by the crib and let's chop it up. So we became very, very close. Now this is when it turned crazy. Lamont was so connected that I got to be around Hammer when he first started, the Tonys when they first started, Channel 2 when they first started, and Vogue when they first started.
Wow.
Because he would take me everywhere. And then he, introduced me to Felton Pilot from Confunction, and Michael Cooper. I met a whole bunch of people in California just vagabonding around. And that's how, I got to understand that, okay, I can really probably do this just like they can. But then I got sent overseas again. So I had to start. So I had to start over when I came back.
That's that's an amazing head start, though.
Yeah, it was a hell of a head start. It was funny, man. I used to go to the studios. They wouldn't let me in the room. They would let me in the lobby, but I couldn't go in the room. So I had to sit out in the lobby and just listen and learn what they were doing the whole time. So I was ear hustling for maybe about a year before they let me come in the room to be in the room studio.
Man, that's amazing. And for everybody that's on, take notes of that, because some people won't ear hustle for 5 minutes to learn
Yeah.
and get into a great position. So
Yeah.
when you went back and you came back, how long before you came back to the States after that?
I came back in 95. I
95.
think it was 95. In 95. And then when I came back, I moved back to Columbus, Georgia on a special duty assignment before I got ready to retire or whatever. And I ran into one of my old mentors, Gerald Hall, Geo Hall. Gerald Hall was produced on TLC Fan Mail, 35 million sold.
35 million. That's right.
And he did Bubba. He worked on Bubba Sparks' first album, the one with Ugly on.
Okay.
He produced on that. And so I used to just hang with him all the time. And he was signed to LaFace as a producer in the 90s when LaFace was popping.
Yeah, they had it on
So
lock.
yeah, so I got to go to all those sessions with him.
Wow.
So I got to see who was what, who did what, and how things go. And he would just tell me, sit back there and just study. So I would buy me a new set of notebooks every weekend. When we hit them studios, I'd be taking notes.
Wow.
And it got to the point where he would leave me in the studio to fix stuff. Hey, fix them strings. Hey, go over there and make sure them drums do this. Go over there and make sure the guitar does this. And he would just leave me in there. He had put me a studio room in his studio just for me.
Just for you.
Just for me. So I really didn't have a choice. I'm always thankful for people who saw more in me than I saw in myself.
I love that, and I also love how each moment you tell the backstory of that individual. Was that the studio you met Whitney Houston?
I actually met Whitney Houston at Bosstown at Bobby Brown's studio in Geo.
Okay.
Yeah, we were there, and the rule was if Bobby comes to the studio, hey, you gotta get your ass out of there. It's 3:00 in the morning, and we're in there working on something. I can't remember what it was, and they said, Bob, they call on the phone, hey, Bobby's here. Y'all got to go to Studio B. So as we were wrapping up, we hear these voices coming in. Now, I'm from Newark, New Jersey. Whitney's from Newark, right? So she's come in. I hear the voice. I'm like, damn, that sounds like Whitney Houston. But I was trained by Gio to never get starstruck. So I just turn around, look. I was like, okay, that is Whitney Houston. That's when she was popping. And nobody knew her and Bobby was together at the time. So she comes in, and I'm just like, we introduce, and then I shut up. I'm trained very well. I know how to follow instruction. And then Gio mentions, hey, Mouse is from Newark. And then she grilled me for a second, like, okay, where you from? I said, I'm from Stella Wright. I live in 57. She's like, "Oh, really?" And then we talked for about 5 minutes. And the crazy part is, I never saw her again.
Wow, never saw again.
Never saw her again.
That was it. To
That was it.
to the
That was
moon.
my moment. Yep, that was my moment. Yep.
So you've been around a lot of entities. I mean, you went to, and I gotta put this out there. He went to camp with Ali. Like you've been yeah. You've been around a lot of folks, a lot of people who made impact through the generation. When was it the moment, or what session, when you got to work on, an artist that you felt like, wow, I did this.
Oh wow, man! I had a lot of them that I got to work on. I didn't get credit for a lot of them because I was work for hire.
I know how that worked.
But yeah, but what really opened the door for me was Mr. Lee. And I'm not gonna front. Um, at the time, I was working at this studio in Arlington, Texas, and he just called me one day out of the blue and said, "Hey, man, I'm coming to get my keys to my office, and I'm gonna bring you your stuff." Out of the blue, and just brought all my stuff and dropped it in my in my driveway, and said, "It's not personal. This is business." Well, I said, "Okay, man, I understand." I got my sons out of the house, and we brought everything in, took inventory, and I went to sleep. I got in the bed, went to sleep. Well, when I woke up, I had a whole lot of text messages, a lot of missed calls. The last one was Mr. Lee from Rap A Lot days, right?
Mm.
And he was like, first thing he said, "Oh man, you still at that studio?" I said, "No, man. He kind of relieved me of my duties today. I don't know what happened." Lee said, "Well, I need you to come to the house this week." It was Saturday. I said, "Well, which house? Are you in Houston or are you in Dallas?" He's like, "I'm in Dallas. Here's the address. I need to see you next week." So I slept the whole weekend, had a good time. At the time, my wife was a school teacher. So, I'm at home. When she at home, I'm at home because I didn't get to see her hardly any time. So I got the address. Then I called another rapper I was working with at the time named See Through. He loved Mr. Lee. So I was like, okay, I don't want to drive. Let me call See Through. I called See Through. I ended up driving anyway because See Through's headlight was out and we were going through a rich neighborhood, so we didn't want to get pulled over.
Dude, nothing's gonna mess this up.
No, so we get to the house. I hadn't seen Lee in probably like maybe 5 or 6 years. So we end up talking and laughing downstairs for a few minutes. He said, "Let's go upstairs to the studio." I'm like, okay. So we go upstairs to the studio. He says, "Hit the space bar." We hit the space bar. I said, "There's a voice coming through." Now, let me preface that voice coming through. The weekend before I went to Mr. Lee's house, me and my wife were laying in the bed watching these videos of this crazy ass rapper talking trash the whole time. Fast forward, get to Lee and hit the space bar, and the voice is the same voice we heard on the videos that weekend. So I stopped it and said, "Nigga, is this Pimp C?" And he said, "Yeah, this Pimp C. I need you to help me mix this album." Took off from that point on. I couldn't hide out anymore. Everybody knew who I was after that.
And how was it working on the Pimp C project? How was that?
Well, when I worked on the project, he had already passed. We did the last one, the Long Live the Pimp.
Yeah.
But I had a hard drive of all vocals of him that I had to study so I can make sure I kept the essence of what he was doing. So Lee gave me the hard drive, and I walked around with the hard drive for a whole year. We worked on the album. Everybody said, "Oh, they ain't working on no Pimp C album." Now I didn't sign an NDA. I got the whole thing, in my bag. And we just and you get to listen to him. Pimp was way ahead of himself. Man, can you imagine Pimp C on social media right now?
Oh man, for real.
It'd be him
He
and Pop.
yeah, they
Oh, it'd have been Buck Wild, bro. It'd have been Buck Wild.
for real. He
Yeah.
was his own social media too.
Oh man,
So imagine him
look,
on it.
and smell my cologne. It's Issey Miyake. Yeah, man, and that album, it gave me it gave me a real perspective on what I could do. Like we were in Houston, went to Houston one time to work with I think it was Big Pokey. Rest in peace, Big Pokey. And I didn't know anybody. I'm from New Jersey, man. I only know dudes from the back east. So I'm in the studio and I'm in this, we in the booth and I'm talking to Big Pokey for 2 hours before I found out who the hell he was. He said, "You don't even know who I am, do you?" I like, "No." I said, "Man, my name Pokey." I said, "Okay, I'm Mouse." I didn't think nothing of it, nothing of it. And then, I got out, we went in the room, and I started feeling some type of way. He was like, "Man, why am I here with all these famous people? I don't feel like I'm supposed to be here." Mr. Lee snatched me to the side and said, "Look, nigga, you ain't here just because you my boy. If you couldn't do the job, your ass wouldn't be here." Changed my whole perspective.
There you go. You paid your dues and you have the talent to do that.
Yes.
I want to pause there real quick. And we have a lot of talent and individuals on, and shout out to everybody on the MJMG Presents app. But
Hey,
how instrumental was the investment in your craft to your success?
well, I can tell you this. I'm always expanding on what I do. I'm always learning something. If you want to do something, you got to be good at it, but not just good at it. You got to be willing to learn every day. Because being great is a mindset. I go in the room, I think I'm the baddest dude in the room, even if I'm not.
Yeah.
But I spent 4 years at SMU for engineering school, graduated, and then I went to Media Tech Institute to get certifications for another 2.5 years. And during that time, Media Tech is a functioning studio. So everybody would be coming through it, all the famous people. Like I was there when Luda first jumped off, Kelly Rowland. R. Kelly rented the studio out for a whole weekend and never walked in. He never came. He stayed in the bus the whole
The
time.
whole time.
The whole time. And I got to hang out with my teachers with Tim Kimsey, who did Kirk Franklin, UGK, Pantera. He did a whole bunch of people. Erica Badu. And then another one of my teachers was Joe Macri. He played bass on Play That Funky Music White Boy.
What? Yo,
So
I'm
so
about
them are my teachers.
I'm about to start asking you who you didn't work with. I think that the list we could get to that list quicker than the people that you actually worked with. Like that's a beautiful thing. If you could tell, like, especially engineers, I think engineer is kind of like the sound guy at the event. He always gets paid attention last, and he does magical work, and he doesn't get it. But if you could tell engineers or artists who are self-engineer themselves any true advice or something that they need to really tune into, what would that be?
I have a mantra: practice, learn, study, and practice
And
some more.
practice some more. Yes, you do.
Because if you get good at something, it becomes second nature. And anytime you get second nature, new stuff is always coming in. So you just got to learn it. I learn from anybody. I don't care who it is. Like I didn't know how to use filters, like they put the stones underwater and all that stuff about 5, 10 years ago. A 14-year-old kid taught me how to do it.
Mm,
So, you know, like in certain stuff, like working on vocals, you listen to this, you listen to that, and then you study it. And you're like, okay, why can I do it? So, I'm an avid old school guy. I'm just so happen to be blessed with a person who can send me old school sessions tracked out. So I can take those old school sessions and I can study them and listen to them and try to recreate what I heard on the record from the dry files.
wow, nice.
And so that sharpens me up. It keeps me sharp.
I love that. I love that. How I know you've been around through many of the generations and the many a times. I know. I mean, I've only really been an engineer myself since like 2012, right? So I'm like I'm
Hmm.
still a baby in engineering, and I've seen equipment and things transform and change in my short period. I know you've seen the climate from real to real to
Yes.
everything change. How do you keep abreast to what's going on, and how do you? Some people don't want to change. How do
Yeah,
you adapt?
I I just keep young people around all the time because, like, when people don't even realize that a lot of the older cats, we were young and stupid too
Yeah,
at one time. So, I'm always like, okay, why are you doing that? Why is this? I went from learning how to cut tape, splice tape, to learning how to program the tape machine. Then from that, learning how to use the patch bay to the SSL,
SSL.
and then from that to the knee, and then from that in the 80s, somewhere in the 80s, we started playing with computers and stuff like that, learning how to program drum machines, how to program keyboards, learning how to do this, how to do that. And so right now, it's so easy to do the stuff that we did. Like I told one cat, he was talking about going to the studio, said the studio was $65 an hour. That was expensive. I started laughing and said, hey
Yeah.
man, you spend $135 an hour for the studio. We can only afford two. So we spent $270 right there. Then we had to go spend another $180 for the tape.
Yep. And hopefully
Then we
you one take it
hopefully
too.
yeah. And so you only got enough about 25, 30 minutes on the tape. So you better get it right.
Get it right.
And then you had to pay for the engineer. And if he didn't like your shit he would fuck your shit up. So we had to practice them songs and get them right. The first time we play it just to practice. That second time, that shit better be right.
Yeah, we gotta get to it.
Yeah, it better be right. So just learning how to use stuff makes you valuable. Like you can walk into a room and something breaks and you know how to use it. Oh, that you gotta do this. This is you got another job coming.
Yep.
Because they're calling. They're like, hey man, who was that dude that came in here and fixed such and such? Like I used to get jobs from always programming drum machines, the keyboards, make them sync up via MIDI. Learning how to take the MIDI tracks and bounce them in to the computer, and then turn around and turn it into audio. Before you could just hit a button and
Take
commit to
commit.
audio. So I would have to bounce the 16 tracks in on the tape, track at a time,
Time.
with the NPC clicking the time code on channel 23 of the tape. We only got 24 channels from the tape. So yeah,
Yo. Like
crazy.
like for those that are out there like, what in the world are they talking about? I'm just gonna say it was real, y'all. It was real. It was real. It
Oh
was
yeah.
most definitely real. So, going from that and now incorporating with technology and learning and going from there, how has your approach working with talents now compared to then? Because now you're a household name to many, so it's like makes sense for people to want to work with you. But how do you approach that now?
I'm still the same way I was when I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I go in. I always ask them, what do you want to do? Tell me what you want. Don't think that because I have experience that I know everything, because I never will know everything. You might come in and have a different way of thinking. And it's kind of hard sometimes because, we have done the young people a disservice by not letting them struggle and learn how to do stuff.
I
It's so easy for them, and it's our fault because we didn't want them to struggle like we did.
Yeah.
It's our fault. But, you know, it's so easy to learn something from somebody. And it's so easy to go, okay, let me put a little of this old shit with that crazy stuff you're listening to. Because a lot of people don't realize we old, but we were crazy too. Because
Yeah.
when we started doing stuff, the old people was like, y'all crazy. Just remember this, but when we started listening to rap,
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
they was like, turn that off, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah, that's so real, and I share that a lot. I remember when, the hip hop legends before me were looking at my time of music like, that's all y'all talking about. We don't want to hear that, ain't hip hop, Onyx and all that, and I was so offended, like, yo, how
Yeah.
could, and that's why to this day I try not to be the same thing that happened. I try to never forget that there was a moment in that aspect. And you said something that was really really powerful, and I want to touch back on that. You said, I I go and I be the same person that I am that when I didn't know anything. I'm that same person. How do you balance the work? Sometimes I see people who have less accolades than you, super less accolades than you, get consumed with that space and the fame, and their head gets this big, and they just been in the room.
Yeah.
How have you, and what's your key to balancing you?
Well, it comes down to my childhood, really. My dad was in the Nation of Islam, still is, and he worked for Ali. So in the summers, me and my brothers will always go to Ali's camp in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and we hang out with Ali.
Hmm.
You can't get any more bigger than that,
Word up.
you know. And we would just sit on the rocks because he had these rocks that he had all his dad had painted all of the great boxers' names on them. We just sit on the rocks and watch all the stars come in to see him. So I mean, everybody would come up that hill to see Ali, and we was like, man, that's so and so, that's so and so. And Ali was so daggone crazy and fun to be around. He loved the kids. He played like we did. So after after I got older, I just adopted that I wasn't better than anybody. I'm never going to be better than anybody. And I just sit back. If you go to the studio with me, I probably might say 10 words because I'm trying to take everything in. The rule is when you're working with an artist, you don't give them instructions because you'll mess around and get an employee instead of an artist.
Yes, that's true.
So, I just stay on the crazy man side. If you ask my opinion, I'll tell you. If you don't, I don't volunteer. Because if you try to dictate what somebody says or how they do it, you may mess up the magic.
Yeah.
You may mess up the magic. And God might leave a room on you, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Or they'll leave and that magic never come back,
Never. And then you won't work with anybody else for the rest of your life because they're gonna talk about
they're
it.
gonna talk about you. They're gonna talk about you. And I know there's a lot of people that's suffering from that right now.
Oh yeah.
On this show, we always ask every single body this question. With all that you know right now, every information, if you could go back to the young mouse, I don't know, any age young mouse, and share that valuable information or advice or word of encouragement to yourself, what would that be?
Stay studying. I had a real traumatic event happen to me when I was about 14. When one of my friends got shot in the head standing right next to me.
Wow.
And I kind of couldn't recover from that for a little while. And it was this drug dealer in the neighborhood, ironically, and he pulled me to the side and said, "Hey, if I catch you out here doing what we do, I'm gonna beat your ass.
Mm-hmm.
You go in there and play them drums." And every day he would tell me a song to play the drums on every day. And it didn't help. It didn't help that my mom was the chief of police's personal secretary. So I couldn't really do nothing too bad and not get caught up. But always believe that what you're trying to do is in there. You got to be able to think because your dreams are inside those thoughts. And if you're not thinking, your dreams ain't gonna work at all.
That's real. That's real. Now, I know you are actively working with people, and I did get a text message from a friend sending a message, and they asked, out of all the people that you worked with, where there was one session that you experienced the meeting your idol and being disappointed. Now you can
No,
plead the fifth one.
no, yeah, no. I mean, because my idols were the people who taught me.
Nice.
The people who taught me. Gerald Hall, Victor Bryson, Mr. Archie. Those are my idols. That's who taught me how to do stuff. Because I grew up in Columbus, Georgia, as a teenager,
Okay.
and at the time, we had everybody there. Now this is who's from there. Kim Porter's from there. Dallas Austin's from there.
Mm-hmm.
Basic Black is from there. Then we got pro athletes. We got Sam Mitchell, who coached the Toronto Raptors and played for the Pacers. We had a whole bunch of stuff. We had talent shows that was so cold. People would fly in to see the talent shows because everybody was so good. And all those times, you just sit back going, "Dang, man, I want to be like that." And the drug dealers back in the day, if you could play ball or you could do music, you was almost not to be touched in the hood.
That's right.
And yeah, so that's where it came from for me. I would go back and just try to soak in some more stuff from because as a kid, you ain't listening to everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just picking up what you want to pick up and move around. But I would just be listening more. All the older people that talk to me, I would just listen more because I still, run stuff that I talked to my Uncle James about up under the carport in Alabama. All my aunts and uncles. I just remember the stuff they say because I had friends that protected me when I was in school. They kept me out of trouble. Or if somebody tried to fight me, my boys would handle that.
Yeah, they're like,
Because
nah,
they like,
you do what you doing. We got this.
yeah, because like, hey, you can't mess up your hands.
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, you can't mess up your hands. You need your hands to beat on the drums, play the piano. So I would just listen a whole lot more than I did. I'd probably be farther ahead if I listened a whole lot more.
I mean, you are ahead in much, in much, my
I'm,
brother. So
I
you
try.
you didn't try. You most definitely did. In the reverse of that question, and I'm gonna go to the feed. I do see a question on the feed, but a reverse of that question: was there any particular session that actually intensified your love or motivated you to further do what you're doing?
Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, actually, in my early production days, this is funny. I was stationed in Greece, and I had submitted some songs to Motown while I was in the States. Well, back then you had to send tapes.
Yeah.
So I sent 2 cassette tapes, and when I got to Greece, I was there for a year or so. I forgot all about it. Then I got a letter in the mail saying, "Hey, we would like to meet with you on this day at this time." Now, I'm in Greece, and they're talking about Los Angeles. So I had to get there. I had 5 days to get there. So I went and asked for some leave time from my supervisor. He gave it to me. I pawned my XP 1200
Wow.
and I got on the plane and flew from Greece to LA with $85 in my pocket. But I had a round trip ticket, so I was
You
good.
was good. You was good.
I was good. And I got there, and as I'm sitting in they talking to me, telling me what's going on, and then they start playing my stuff. No heads moving. Nobody looked like they were enthused. My feelings was hurt. But Sylvia Rome told me one right there as
Hold,
I was.
hold on. I'm not gonna let you just throw that in smoothly. She spoke to you.
Yeah, she spoke to me
My man done spoke to
Be-
everybody, man.
because she knew I was in the military at the time, and she said, "You're gonna be ready, but you just ain't ready right now, baby. Keep working." So I tucked my tail and caught the damn cab back to the airport and flew back to Greece. I've never seen her again either. But that was the beginning of like, okay, if I'm gonna be good at it, I gotta study all these people I like, and I gotta try to be better than them.
That's very impactful. Even to take that moment, because that moment wasn't a loss. That moment wasn't a
No,
loss. That
it
moment
was
was,
a win-win, really.
yes, that was a powerful win, and you capitalized on the rebound. You didn't make the initial bucket, but you caught that rebound. That's very
Oh yeah.
powerful. We got a question from the feed, and the question was, how was the transition from Texas to ATL?
Um, shout out to DF Dub, man. I had a great time in DF. Dallas actually helped me get to where I wanted to go.
Hmm.
But the reason that I moved to Atlanta is because me and my wife were always here for me working, and we would spend our mortgage money as much as we spent on the mortgage on hotels here in Atlanta. So like Sometimes we'd be here 2 weeks, we spend a couple grand. It's like, man, this ain't right. So one day I went to Los Angeles to work on something, and a company called and said, "Hey, that house that you and your wife looked at, it's available. Would you like it?" I said, "Man," in my mind going, "Man, my wife is not getting ready to move to Atlanta, leave her kids here. That ain't finna work." So I actually just got on the phone and called and said, "Hey, you know, the house that you looked at when we was in Atlanta, that is available. What do you want to do?" To my surprise, she said, "If you gotta go, we gotta go." So we moved in 21 days from Dallas to Atlanta. And the crazy thing is, the day we got here on a Tuesday, I got sick. I suffered from exhaustion from all the work. Went to a doctor's appointment the day before my doctor's appointment. They had to call 911. My wife had to call 911 because I passed out in the bathroom.
Oh
so
wow.
so went to the hospital, got up, went to stayed in the hospital all day. Then I had another doctor's appointment that same day. So I went to the doctor's appointment with my hospital clothes on. And then that next morning, I had a boot camp that I had to be a part of on that Saturday morning.
Wow.
So, yeah, so, sometimes you just got to suck it up. Now, my wife didn't like that, but sometimes you got to suck it up. And I'm gonna tell you, if you wanna learn how to network and be around your people, Atlanta's where it is.
Yeah.
Atlanta's like being back up north.
Yeah. Every time I was in Atlanta, the love that I got and the energy it was different. It was different, but
Yeah,
it was productive.
yeah. So I got to work with a lot of people here. One of my friends is Raphael Capone. He owns Solar Asylum Studios in Atlanta, number one studio in Georgia. So for 13,000 square feet, something like that. The only Dolby Atmos, certified room in the state. And I get to hang out there. Like, he turns me on to this and that and the third. But man, I've been around in Atlanta and I just been having a blast. I've been having a blast. I had a blast in Dallas too, man. I stayed in Dallas from 1998 until I moved 2 years ago.
Nice.
And yeah,
So you just in answering that, you mentioned something. You mentioned Adobe Atmos, and as an engineer, I dabbled in it, and a lot of artists don't see the benefits of it, or they're not into it yet, and some places don't have the space to utilize it, so you got to rent a space, and it's really
yeah.
rare. But could you just for the music aspects talk about what you see the importance of it, or how impactful that is, or not in today's music?
Well, I'm intrigued by it all the time. I studied it for 3 years before I got certified to do it. Um, it can actually, sync licensing is real big in the music business. It makes you more money. If your songs are already mixed in Dolby Atmos, you have jumped in front of 15 to 20 other people who may have a dope song. They may have a hit record, but it ain't Dolby Atmos, so it don't translate. There's nothing like listening to your song where elements of it are flying all around the room.
Yeah.
Like, we Solar Side just had got tuned up by Dolby Atmos. Dolby flew in and tuned the room. This dude was playing Rocket Man by Elton John. He was playing all kind of stuff, and it just gives you a whole different perspective of what the medium can do. Because when Capone was mixing Selena Johnson's album Atmos, he called me in to help him out in some aspects, and it's just so, say it like this: if you want to be in front of everybody right now, learn to get your stuff mixed in Dolby Atmos. It may cost you a little bit, but just think about that first check you get if your song makes a movie like Transformers or something.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, I know people that have made 30 grand off a song being played for 1 minute on a record on the movie.
Yeah, most definitely, it's so true. I recently posted, you know, my ASCAP, and
Oh
I was
yes,
trying to tell people like that's one record for that 1 month.
yeah,
You know, 1 month, it's possible, it's possible. But I'm glad you got to speak about Adobe Atmos. I think it's very overlooked. A lot of people don't understand it, and a lot of engineers are not really capable of mixing in Adobe Atmos. I dabble in it. I am nowhere near professional in it.
it's tough, bro. It's
It's
tough.
tough, but I do love what I hear. Like
Oh yeah,
I'm one to trust my ears, and I love what I'm hearing, and I'm like, this is amazing. This is amazing.
yeah. It's an orgasmic feeling. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They say it like be immersed into the sound. Like
Yeah,
it's really what it is.
yeah. You can close your eyes and just hear like, if you want to know what it feels like, go to a Dolby Atmos movie and see if you can find the Matrix. And you hear stuff coming
Oh,
from everywhere, man.
yeah.
Uh, it's something else, man. Something else.
It most definitely is. I want to stop the music real quick. Here on the show, we know we're in the time of everyone getting their flowers. Everyone getting their flowers. But here on the show, we know that flowers die, so we love to give our honor. And I want to say, first of all, I want to thank you for your service to us, in the country. Shout out to Waves. He also said thank you for your service, with a salute. I want to thank you for that, but I also want to thank you for being a staple of dedication, motivation, and the pursuits, and an example of the pursuits for many. For those that's just jumping on, I mentioned that he helped engineer and produced in the credits for like Nas, Pimp C, Scarface, Lil Wayne, Zaytoven, Dolla Sign. We could even go into a different genre of like Elton John, Stevie Wonder, Janet Jackson, you name it, Bruno Mars, Aretha Franklin. I could keep going on for some of the things that this individual was going, and I wanted to just thank you and give you your honor for the work you did, and always remaining humble in who you are and sharing that passion with, I can imagine everyone that you work with. You give
Oh yeah,
passion, and you've also worked on a score for Peter on Amazon.
yeah. I
And
scored that.
you scored that, and yeah, I'm trying to make sure you get all you, because you're a humble guy. I'm trying to make sure you get everything, but on top of him scoring that, I think out of all the artists, you only used about 5 to 7 famous, and then you used independent artists
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
rest. Even that right there is beautiful, to create opportunities and give people. So again, I want to give you a round of applause on that, man. Thank you so much. Before
Thanks, man.
before we my man Waves the creator said crazy accolades, and I must say, Waves, that's the tip of the iceberg. Like I ran through just a small fraction of it. But before we go, and I'm gonna ask you to do two things, but before we go, could you share one more word of advice to just the creative? I know artists get lost in the analytics of content creation, and then some don't want to perform, and some just are very good studio recording artists. But could you give that advice to the creatives that are on right now, listening and holding on to the every word?
Yeah, this I just had this conversation with a young artist a couple days ago. Stop being afraid to do you. There is no formula. There is no magic potion. Like everybody thinks that it's, if I do it like this, just imagine if you hear a hit record right now, it's probably 2 or 3 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So that person was ahead of its time. Stop trying to mimic everybody and just do you. We need you. We don't need 15 other person that's hot.
Yep, that's so true.
Yeah, that's it for me right there. I mean, do you?
That's plain and simple. Do you be you so we get you and you could
Yep.
grow you.
Yes, sir.
You can grow you. If anybody wanted to reach out to you, uh book you, get some insight. I know you also have your annual MouseQuake mixed boot camp.
Yes.
I know you had that. We didn't before we go. We didn't get to touch on that because you could break that down real quick for the people and what's that's about.
Yeah. What I do is I actually set up, get a studio facility, and I have, you know, like half of the first day, I do all the business stuff to where they learn how to get the business and their business situated. And then the second half of the day, I have one of my famous friends come to the studio and we'll work on a record so they can see the record,
Okay.
see a record be created. And then the second day, I have more business and more hands-on stuff so that they can actually practice what we teach. Like my first boot camp, I had about 25 people there. I expected that. The second one, I had 275 at the second one.
Wow.
And what I do is I actually have food catered in. I have catered food for lunch on both days. I give them a swag bag with merchandise. I give away computers, software. I gave away a Ableton Live drum machine 1 year, two Dell computers. I gave away a lifetime subscription of Fruity Loops, one of Pro Tools, one of Logic, and I gave away a copy of Reason every time. And then I have some famous people come in, like I had Mr. Lee, Jabborn, who did On and On by Erica Badu.
Mm.
Had Stone Mecca come. Stone Mecca is RZA's, he's Wu Tang's musical director. Then I had my girl Sade come in from LA, flew her in from LA to teach him about the business of paperwork.
Hold on, Sade who?
Nope, not Sade Renee.
I was about to jump through this.
Oh no,
I
not
was
that
about,
one, brother.
I was about to
I
jump
would
through.
I would have had nobody paying attention to nothing I said if that sister would have came.
For real, for real.
Not a soul, but that's what it's for. And I probably it takes a while to plan one because I have to work around everybody's schedule. And I got to pay them to come. I only charged the last one I charged $300 for almost 2 days of stuff, and
That's
I didn't make any money. It was
yeah.
just because that's what I wanted to do. But I'm thinking about doing one here in Atlanta because I have more access to things. Like I can pay my friend at Soul Asylum to use his studio. We got Dolby Atmos in there. We got a Platinum Suite where they film Vlad TV.
Wow.
So and you got so I can do one there. It might be a little more expensive this time because I
You
have to
you
pay
gotta
for
pay for
stuff,
what you gotta do. Yeah.
and I don't have that hookup system yet here that I did in Dallas.
Gotcha.
But I do have a couple cooks lined up, get some vegan stuff. I got a few things, but it's gonna take me a minute because that thing takes a lot to plan. Plus, I got to get the sponsors to send stuff in. Like Chaotic Eyeball was one of my sponsors.
Okay. Yes,
Yeah,
that's right. I did see that. I did see that.
yeah.
Um, we going back to how I was closing. If somebody want to reach out to you, but ways to create it. Say, how can someone participate in the upcoming boot camp sessions?
Well, when I get ready to when I have it all lined up, I'll post it on my social media with the link to, pay to come to it. I give you all the information. It's not just a willy nilly thing. I come from an education background. My wife's a school teacher, so I have it set up like a syllabus. My syllabus is done, so you don't come in and think we just willy nilly.
Yeah.
Everything is going to be laid out. But when I get ready to do it, because I already have all the stuff laid out. Um, I have it already set up for it's going to be the business edition where I'm going to have lawyers come in, people from ASCAP come in, BMI. I'm trying to get somebody from CSAC to come. I have a law, lawyers, really, everybody needs to have a good lawyer. And I have a pretty good lawyer myself. So, but when it's ready to go, I'll put it on my social media. And my social media is at MF MouseQuake everywhere. And no, MF does not stand for what you think it does. It stands for most famous.
Most famous, y'all. Most famous. That's right. That's right. Again, I want to thank you, Pete. Miss Jackson was on it. She was like, "Yo, follow him." Right before we got the answer, she was like, "Make sure you follow him." So she was on it. Shout out to MJMG Presents.
Yes, Miss J. Woo!
Again, I want to thank you for coming on, sharing those gems along with your journey. We most definitely will keep our eyes open because we know the magic that you create. There's going to be a lot more, so we're going to keep our eyes open for that magic. And like you said, we're going to keep learning, studying, and practicing.
All day.
All day. Again, thank you again for coming on the show. Can we give another round of it?
Hey, man, thank you very much. And don't think that you're not going to be coming to my boot camp either.
I was,
don't get it twisted.
I was just about to text you after it. Like,
no, don't worry about that. You honorary. You're honorary.
Oh, man, I'm there. Let me know and I'm there.
As Mr. Lee say, with your looking ass.
Yeah, that's right. But again, thank you, my brother. Thank you so much for
Thanks, man. I really appreciate you letting me talk to you.
Ah, man, thank you. It was most definitely insightful, and it was most definitely motivating. So you have a beautiful night, my brother, and we most definitely try to catch up again with you and see what you got cooking up.
Yes, sir. Holla at me. You know where I'm at. You got my real phone number.
Yes, I got you. We locked in.
Yes, sir.
All right, my brother. You have
all right. Peace, y'all.
Peace. Oh, man, that was super dope, everybody. That was super dope. I want to send a shout out to everybody that's jumping on or just jumped on or been on. If you didn't take anything from today, I want to share something with y'all. There was a moment when he spoke about sitting with Sylvia Roman, right? And she said, listen here, you gonna be ready, but you ain't ready now, baby. And that moment right there, I've seen moments like that destroy individuals. I've seen moments like that send individuals away from their dream. I've seen individuals quit. I've seen individuals point and blame how people ain't supporting and people ain't listening. And if you let those moments, and I'm gonna be a little harsh, if you let those moments square you away from what you love or what you like, if someone not supporting you is enough for you to quit, if that person telling you, I don't think you got it, is enough for you to stop, then this ain't for you. And it's okay. So what I'm gonna say is, if this is for you, and this is what you love, take those moments. Like I told him, that was just a rebound. He didn't make the shot then, but he rebounded and took that moment. And he came back and scored how many buckets afterwards. So Michael Jordan has a quote. He says, if you take the shot, you could only do two things: hit it or miss. I always say, if you don't take the shot, you'll never know what you got. So take your shot. See what you do. And if you miss, fight for the rebound. And if you miss the rebound, go for the steal. And if you can't get a steal, make a fucking foul. Take them to the line. But don't quit. Keep pushing, keep doing what you love, y'all, and keep making it happen. I swear, Brooklyn. Shout out to MJMG Presents SHU Radio. Shout out to everybody that's jumping on, that been on. Shout out to everybody on MJMG app. We're gonna go into a song that he did for Selena Johnson. This is called Burning My Soul. Y'all, keep getting them rebounds. Keep taking them shots. Make them shots. And like I said, if worse comes to worse, foul, motherfucker. But stay in the game.